Since it is the month of love, let's talk about some amazing romantic reads. Hello everybody. So Valentine's Day is quickly approaching, and if you don't know by now already, I love romance. I love romance books, I love romance movies, anything romance I am, just sign me up for, I will be there. So I've done this video like every year for my favorite romance and stuff, but I thought this year, since I think I've read enough romance novels as I add on to them every single year, I would do a top 10 of my favorite romantic reads. Now, these are all going to be adult books. Some of them will vary as far as steaminess factor, and what that means is like adult times. I will let you know in case you are very wary of that, which is totally understandable, or in case you really enjoy that. I will let you know either way. But these are going to be my top 10 favorite romantic books. Like romance people, this video is for you if you want the swoons, the romance, the love. All of these books have that, and I love them also. And this list was very hard to comprise. These will change every year because I read some new romance reads that I just love and adore every single year. So without further ado, let's get into my top 10 favorite romance reads. Get into my top 10, it wouldn't be my video if I didn't have any honorable mentions, because I love these books, but I didn't have a place for them, I don't think, in my top 10. They just weren't there for me. For that is Sophie Kinsella's I've Got Your Number. Really, any Sophie Kinsella books is a great like chick-lit romantic read that is just funny. So in case you want a lot of funny with your romance, any Sophie Kinsella book I would recommend. This is my favorite. I've Got Your Number. I think it'll always be my favorite. I love it so. As well as The Right Swipe by Elise Shirai. I really did enjoy this one. It didn't quite make it in my top 10, but if you just want a steamy romantic read about two people that had one night together and are coming back together years later, this one is great for that. Now officially moving into my top 10. At number 10 comes in Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. So this book was really popular last year. A lot of people read it. A lot of people discovered Tessa Bailey because of this book, like myself. In case you do not like the adult times, steer clear of any Tessa Bailey books. In case you're into that, read all of Tessa Bailey books. But this book follows a character named Georgie, who is the town clown, literally. She goes to birthday parties and she's the clown. She also has two older siblings, and they kind of have, her family has like this renovation company where they'll flip houses and things like that. It also brings her brother's best friend Travis into the picture. Travis was a Major League Baseball star, and then he had an injury and he can't play anymore, so he decides to work for Georgie's brother, and feelings emerge because she's always had a crush on Travis, and Travis is now finally noticing her. So this one is very steamy. In case you like the kind of bad boy that finally realizes the girl next door, this is a great one for that. It does have a lot of romance in it. He uses the word baby girl like probably like 200 times in this book, but it is romantic, it is steamy, I did enjoy it, I will say. Coming in at number 9 is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is my first Talia Hibbert book, and I really enjoyed it. This is about a character named Chloe Brown who really lives life cautiously. She has fibromyalgia, which is a chronic condition, and she really, she can't control it. It's something that's going to be with her for forever. She decides to live life on the cautious side. And then one day something happens and she decides, hey, I should just, live life, do things. And so she enlists like her apartment buildings like handyman named Red to kind of help her, and of course feelings emerge, steaminess happens. Again, this is a steamy book, I'll let you know each time. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reading the voice of Chloe Brown. She had many sisters that were involved. I loved the relationship with her and Red. It was very romantic. I loved it a lot. And she's a thicker girl, and Red appreciated that, and as a thicker girl myself, I love that. I will always love that. Good representation of thick girls. But I really like this. I will definitely read more of this author's work. In fact, I think she has a book coming out this year that focuses on one of Chloe Brown's sisters. So would highly recommend if you want a romantic, steamy, really cute time with a cat involved as well. Coming in at number 8 is Things You Save in the Fire by Catherine Center. This was a definitely surprise read that I read last year. I read it on a whim. I had read one of Catherine Center books before and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I was so surprised by how much I love this book. This is about a character named Cassie who lives in Texas, and she is a female firefighter, and she's done really good at her Texas job and things like that. And then her mom, who she has a really strained relationship, calls her and she's like, hey, I need some help. I'm having some health problems, and she lives in Boston. Cassie is very hesitant, and then something happens in Texas, so she's like, I should probably go. So she goes to Boston and helps out her mom, and she also starts brand new at another firehouse where they are very against a female firefighter, so she has to kind of prove herself there as a willing candidate, a willing willing worker, a strong worker, and things like that. She also starts with another rookie guy who is also a firefighter, and feelings emerge. And this is just a beautiful love story. Yes, I love steamy romantic books. Yes, I love funny romantic books, but I also love a sweet and amazing romance story, and I think this one was just that. I think there was like maybe one like kind of steamy, but it's not overly. So in case you're not into that, this one is a great one to pick up because the romance was just sweet. I keep saying that, but it was really wholesome in my opinion, and it was just really a beautiful romance story to read that I loved. It's about Cassie overcoming her feelings with her mom and also overcoming her feelings with kind of proving herself to everybody that she's worthy of being a firefighter. So I love this one, would highly recommend it. I don't hear a ton of people talk about this romantic read, but trust me, you need to read it. I think you'll love it. Coming in at number 7 is The Kiss Quotient. Kiss Quotient, I can't ever say that right, by Helen Huang. I read this a couple years ago. It is battered apparently, and I loved it. Again, very adult, very steamy, just so you're forewarned. In this book, we follow a character named Stella who has Asperger's, which I don't think Asperger gets talked about a lot now because they've kind of combined that within the autism spectrum. So she's in the autism spectrum, and she really struggles with relationships. You know, she goes to work, she goes home, and things like that. And her parents always pressure her, find somebody, find a man, be married, and stuff like that. So she decides to hire a male escort named Michael to kind of, you know, teach her the ropes of, I don't want to say the sexual world, but I guess we could say that, and just how to be in a relationship pretty much. Of course, feelings emerge, things like that. It is very adult, like I said, but I loved it, and I love the autistic representation. You guys know I have an autistic son, so it's very important whenever I read a book that has a character that is on the spectrum. I love it usually because it's representing, and it's such a vast spectrum that there's not going to be every character is going to be the same if they're autistic. There's so many, you know, it's a vast spectrum. So every person that's autistic is completely different, and I think that's awesome. And I think Stella and Michael's relationship was beautiful, very steamy, like I said, but I loved it. She has a series within this book. The second book is The Bride Test. I didn't quite love it as much as this one, but goodness me, I really adored this one. Coming in at my number 6 slot are just Christina Lauren books. So Christina Lauren is 2 authors comprised in one, Christina Lauren, and they write a lot of adult rom-com kind of books like that. They have written I think they got really popular a couple years ago, and they kind of shifted from just kind of steamy books to more kind of adult contemporary romance with some steamy aspects in them, and that's when I found them and really enjoyed them. So I believe I've read 5 or 6 of their novels, and I want to recommend 3 to you today. These are my 3 favorites, and they're all very different. First up is The Unhoneymooners. This one is a hate to love romance trope, in case you're into that, which is my favorite romantic trope of all time. This one is great. This is about a character named Olive whose twin is getting married, and her twins fiance's brother is the best man, and that his name is Ethan, and Olive and Ethan hate each other. They can never get along. So the wedding comes, they get married, you know, things happen, and then at the reception, people eat, I think fish is what it is, and Olive and Ethan are the only people that don't eat the reception food, and everybody else gets very sick but Olive and Ethan. So they decide, Olive's twin says, hey, we can't go on our honeymoon because, you know, we got food poisoning and stuff, so send Olive and Ethan. They might as well go because we can't get a refund. So Olive and Ethan reluctantly go on this amazing trip to, I think, Hawaii or Maui. Yeah, Maui. And of course, feelings emerge, and I really adored this one. This is perfect to read for summertime, so in case you're like, this sounds really interesting, save it for summer. Trust you me, you're going to want to read this by the pool, by the beach, by the lake, with a cocktail in hand, probably, if you're of adult legal age, of course. But I love this one. So we have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Night Dating. In case you're not into the hate to love trope, but you love the friends to lovers trope, this one is for you. So Josh and Hazel met in college. They were friends. They never really had feelings for each other. They meet each other years later, again, are friends, and they decide, you know, since we don't like each other, let's set each other up on blind dates. And of course, when that happens, when they go on like their double date, it never goes well, and they always end up learning more about each other and going home and things like that. So of course, feelings might happen and things like that. I really enjoyed this one. So you have hate to love, you have friends to love, and then you have an epic love story with Love in Other Words. This one, these two are funny, romantic. This one's like your grand, you know, epic picture love story where we have a character named Macy, who this is also taking place in 2 timelines, I should say. And she is very confident. She is a nurse. She's getting married to this older man that she feels very secure with, that she's not quite in love with. And then she runs into Elliot, her teenage love, her first love, the boy that lit the fire within her heart. And they never ended well. It wasn't amicable. They never ended well. Something really big happened with them and never get to it, but you go back in the past, you learn how Macy and Elliot met and how their epic love story happened. And then you go into the future with Macy really hesitating of, should I get married to this guy? I have feelings for Elliot still because I just saw him, and things like that. So goodness me, they have anything. Christina Lauren has every type of genre trope you want. Hate to love, friends to love, epic love story. They got you covered. I really enjoy all of their books. Coming in at number 5 is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Miss Quinston. This book took BookTube by storm last year. Everybody read it. Everybody loved it. Me included. I adored it. So this one, we follow a character named Alex, who is the president's first son, and the president is a female president, which is awesome. It's like kind of an alternate future world. And he kind of has a hate relationship with the Prince of England, Henry. And they basically have to pretend to be friends for the publicity and press and things like that. And then they become friends, and then they become something more, and then they have to be secret. So this book has so many things in it. In case you love politic books, check it out. In case you love royalty books, check it out. In case you love hate to lovers, check it out. In case you love friends to lovers, check it out. In case you love secret romances, check it out. It's got so many tropes within it. I love it. But I adored this one. It is a great one. It's very steamy, just so you're fully aware on that. A lot of people love this book with good reason. It's just a sweet romantic story with a lot of adult times, like I said. Coming in at number 4 is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. So I read this book 2 years ago on a whim. I have read 2 other of K.A. Tucker's books before. I enjoyed them. I just decided to pick this one up, like I said, randomly, and I was not expecting to love it as much as I did, because goodness me, I loved it. This book follows Calla, who has a really rocky relationship with her dad. Her mom and her dad split when they were younger because her mom had lived in Alaska with her dad, and her dad was a pilot, and her mom just couldn't live in Alaska anymore. It was too brutal for her. So she moved to the States. I went with her, obviously. And now, years later, she gets a call that her dad is sick, and she decides, you know, I don't really know my dad. I should have a relationship with him. So she moves to Alaska for a while, and to get to know her dad, she also meets another pilot, Jonah, who is a snarky bad boy that does not like Calla at all. Hate to love her tropes. Are you listening here? Because here it is again. It basically follows her journey of moving to Alaska for a while, learning how it's very different there, relationship with her dad, and of course of the bad boy Jonah. Again, this is a hate to lovers book. I adored it. I am a sucker for any Alaska books. I've read a few and I just adore them. It's just like another trope, I guess you could say. I love hate to lovers, and I also love Alaska books. I don't know, but I love this one. A sequel is coming out, I think, next month that I am so excited for, that continues the story with Calla and Jonah. So again, if you're a hate to lover fan, definitely recommend this one, as well as all the Alaska vibes. Coming in number 3 is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. I read this last year. It was another sweet romantic book that I adored. This one follows Emily, who gets dumped by her boyfriend. She also kind of loses her job, and so she doesn't have a lot to go on, and her sister calls her. She got in a car accident and she messed up her leg. She's totally fine, but she can't like really help or do anything around the house. So Emily decides to go live in with her sister and help out with her niece, who's in high school. There she gets kind of thrust into the world of Emily's high school and how they have this big Renaissance fair every single year, and Emily has to be like a volunteer and things like that. She also gets to meet her niece's English teacher named Simon, who everyone loathes, and he's just a mean teacher. And you know, throughout this book you learn more about him. It also takes place during a Renaissance fair, which I have never been into Renaissance fairs before, or never had much interest in them, but after this book I was like, I would like to go to every Renaissance fair, please now. Thank you very much. It was just sweet. It was adorable. Again, it's kind of a hate to love trope. If you can't already tell, that's my favorite trope, as I continually say, but I loved it. Again, it was a very sweet romantic read that I adored. Coming into my top 2, we have The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. Again, I read this last year, and I loved it. Again, it's a sweet romantic book, so I love all different genres. This one is a friends to lovers, I would say, or maybe even strangers to lovers. I don't know. In this book, it's going to be kind of difficult to explain. It takes place in London. We have Tiffy, who needs a place to stay, and then we have Leon, he has a 1-bedroom apartment, and he is a night nurse, so he's never there from like 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. So he decides, hey, I'll sublet like my apartment because I'm not there, and he needs the money. So Tiffy comes in, and so she lives in the apartment and they share the same bed but never together because they're never there at the same time. So it's like they live together but they don't even know who each other is. So Tiffy is there from like 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. and then Leon is there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So they kind of alternate shifts, obviously. And throughout the course of this, they leave each other post-it notes like, hey, the dishwasher's full. Hey, I had some dinner. Here's some leftovers. And over the course of time, the notes get more intimate and you get to learn more about each other. And they decide, you know, maybe we should meet each other. Maybe, you know, I'm falling for this person I've never even met, but I live with simultaneously. It is just an amazing book. It also deals with some heavy things such as Leon's brother is in jail. Tiffy's going through a really bad relationship where she has some trauma from it, and it's just a beautifully told book, and I love it so much. It definitely reminded me of You've Got Mail, so in case you're into that, I would highly recommend this book for that. Then, my favorite romantic book of all time, and I think this will be, I don't know what it's going to take to knock this off the #1 spot, honestly. That is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I adore this book. I reread this book constantly, and I don't reread a ton of books, and I'll just skim parts that are my favorite and that will, like, you know, the romantic parts, and I just, I love this book. It's just the bottom line is I do. This book got released a few years ago and it exploded on BookTube, and I read it and I fell in love with it. It is the quintessential favorite of mine, hate to lovers trope. Oh gosh, I love it. So this book we follow a character named Lucy who is working at a publishing company, and these two publishing companies merge. She's the assistant to like the boss, and then she has to work with Ethan, who is the other assistant to the other boss. And basically what happens in the book is they decide they're going to merge even more, and there's only going to be one assistant, so they have to vie for the job. And they also like loathe each other. They always like have these games where they like stare at each other game of like who's going to hate each other more. And then feelings emerge, you learn things, it's steamy, it's romantic. I can't get enough of it. Like I said, I reread pieces of it all the time. In case I'm ever like, I need a romantic book in my life and I can't find one, I always turn to The Hating Game. I love it. I adore it. It will probably be my favorite romantic book of all time, like forever. I mean, it's going to take a lot to knock this off #1, and that's just my honest opinion. Goodness me, I love this book. Like, I read the second book by this author and it didn't even come close to The Hating Game. I don't know if any book will, but goodness, if you love hate to love, like, read this, please, because I can't get enough of it. So those were my top 10 favorite romantic books of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I gave you some recommendations in case you want to read some romance books to fill up your time and things like that. And if you have any recommendations for me for romance books, please leave them down below. I will always ask for those. Again, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you got some romantic reading recommendations. Let me know if I've persuaded you to read any of these books. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.